Welcome to the channel. I am the Film Symbologist, and in this video I will expand upon previous discussions and continue exploring what it is that Weyland and David want. This video is part of an ongoing series analyzing Ridley Scott's Prometheus. If you haven't seen previous videos in the series, I suggest checking those out on my channel. In the last video of the series, I looked at the film's moral dilemmas and opportunities involving humans, engineers, xenomorphs, and androids, and how it relates to 19th century German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche's work.
Hello, I'm David.
What can you do, David?
I can do almost anything that could possibly be asked of me. I can carry out directives that my human counterparts might find distressing or unethical.
This video will build off previous videos and delve further into the desires of Peter Weyland and his android David. For most of the film, Weyland's character is off-screen, where he is secretly stowed away in his cryosleep chamber. David, meanwhile, is front and center. He is awake on the spaceship while the rest of the crew is in their pods. He is shown doing his own research on the black goo and going off on his own to explore the pyramid. In his interactions with people, he is often treated dismissively or with contempt. While Shaw treats David as a sentient being for the most part, characters like Weyland, Vickers, and Holloway openly express disdain for the android that they depend upon for so much. Whereas Vickers' animosity towards David is explained, Holloway seems particularly rude to David for no apparent reason.
Pour yourself a glass, pal.
Thank you, but I'm afraid it would be wasted on me.
Oh, all right. I almost forgot you're not a real boy, huh?
This interaction between Holloway and David not only elaborates on the scientist's lack of respect for the android, but also makes reference to a clue that can help the audience to better understand both David and his creator, Weyland. Holloway's insult to David is a reference to Pinocchio, the animated musical fantasy film produced by Walt Disney Productions and released in 1940. Loosely based on a 19th century Italian children's novel, the film tells the story of a woodworker named Geppetto who builds a puppet that he names Pinocchio. Not having any children, Geppetto wishes upon a star for his puppet to become a real boy. While Geppetto is asleep, a fairy visits his home workshop, gives Pinocchio life as a puppet, and tells Pinocchio that if he demonstrates virtue, he will be turned into a full human child, and assigns Jiminy Cricket to serve as his conscience. In the morning, Geppetto is overjoyed to find Pinocchio alive. However, as the film unfolds, Pinocchio encounters a series of temptations and challenges that test his character. He is manipulated by various characters and often ignores Jiminy Cricket's guidance, pursuing short-term pleasures over responsibilities. Meanwhile, Geppetto, in his quest to find Pinocchio, who has gone missing, ends up swallowed by a giant whale named Monstro. At the end of the film, Pinocchio conjures the courage to risk sacrificing himself to rescue his father from the belly of the sea monster, and manages to save them both. This act grants Pinocchio his full human life and fulfills Geppetto's deepest desire. What does this have to do with Prometheus? Weyland isn't like Geppetto, and David isn't like Pinocchio. And that's correct, but that's also the point. The type of love that Geppetto demonstrates in the 1940 Pinocchio film consists of a willingness to risk exposing his son to the dangers of the world in exchange for a chance that his son will develop into an independent person capable of being Geppetto's successor. In an alternate universe, we could imagine that Geppetto could want to have a child, but would be so worried about the temptations and trials the child could face that he settles for a puppet that is less susceptible to temptation and easier for Geppetto to protect from the negativity of the world. Pinocchio might benefit from being safe, but at the risk of forever remaining a puppet dependent upon a puppeteer. In a way, this is expressive of one type of love a father might have for their offspring. Neither of these relationships describe the dynamic between Weyland and David. If Geppetto was an unloving and ruthless businessman, hell-bent on accumulating wealth and power and extending his life, he might manufacture as many puppets as possible for sale, while keeping one Pinocchio for himself to control for his own benefit. This Geppetto doesn't want Pinocchio to be a real boy who can replace the aging woodworker one day. This Geppetto wants a slave.
You will die. I will not.
Bring me his tea, David.
Weyland doesn't want a successor that will one day reign in his stead. He wants an android that he can control to do his bidding. In fact, Weyland already has an heir in Meredith Vickers. She cannot be controlled like David, so Weyland has no use for her, because he does not want real children who will mature into adults. He wants slaves. Weyland's disdain for his daughter is evident in the briefing scene.
There's a man sitting with you today. His name is David. He is the closest thing to a son I will ever have. Unfortunately, he's not human.
But Weyland doesn't really want a son either, at least not one that has any agency of his own. The aging titan of industry intends to circumvent the natural order of things and find a way to extend his life so that he can rule eternally with David at his beck and call.
A king has his reign, and then he dies. It's inevitable. That is the natural order of things.
Weyland does not want to die and does not want his reign to end. He wants eternal life, which, if attained, means David will need to perform his trick for eternity. In the story of Pinocchio, the animated puppet saves his father from the belly of the whale in the sea and becomes a real boy. Is David interested in rescuing Weyland? Far from it. In fact, the android leads his father directly into the belly of the juggernaut in the desert.
Doesn't everyone want their parents dead?
David attains what he seeks and gains his freedom from Weyland's strings, but at the cost of his mobility and physical agency. Once free, what does David seek next? Does he want to become a real boy and part of the natural order like Pinocchio?
I was designed like this because you people are more comfortable interacting with your own kind.
Making you guys pretty close, huh?
Not too close, I hope.
David doesn't want to be an heir or a successor who will eventually be replaced by another entity. David wants the same thing Weyland wanted. David wants to be a creator, a god. And what about humanity? What of our father? According to Nietzsche, he's dead and we've killed him. Where does that leave us? Empowered to guide our own future? Or even more susceptible to coercion by nefarious principalities and powers than ever before? What should we want to become?
Why do you think your people made me?
We made you because we could.
Can you imagine how disappointing it would be for you to hear the same thing from your creator?
In the next video, I hope to finish up my analysis of Weyland and David so that I can shift my focus onto the engineers and xenomorphs. If you enjoy content like this, share it, comment down below, like the video, and subscribe to the channel to see future videos. Thank you from the Film Symbologist.